ब्रह्मानंद सदा सुख सुमीरे ज्ञान करत यब ज्ञान चरण मेवा देवा हरे मंगल सुमीरन गणपति देवा हरे गणपति देवा जापो पिता महादेव मंगल सुमीरन गणपति देवा हरे गणपति देवा गणपति देवा जापो पिता महादेवा मंगल सुमीरन गणपति देवा हरे गणपति देवा जापो पिता महादेवा सुमिरो सुख सन्निधि सिद्धिपति गणनायक गणेश सुखदायक सुमिरो सुख सन्निधि सिद्धिपति ओ सुमिरो सुख सन्निधि सिद्धिपति गणनायक गणेश सुखदायक लाल अंग रंग भूपन राजे लाल अंग रंग भूपन राजे साजे वाहन मूस सहायक गणनायक गणेश सुखदायक ओ सुमिरो सुख सन्निधि सिद्धिपति ओ सुमिरो सुख सन्निधि सिद्धिपति गणनायक गणेश सुखदायक मंगल करण हरण भव मोचन मंगल करण हरण भव मोचन सभ्य विधि पूरन कारज लायक गणनायक गणेश सुखदायक ओ सुमिरो सुख सन्निधि सिद्धिपति ओ गणनायक गणेश सुखदायक ब्रह्मानंद कहे करी जोरे ब्रह्मानंद करी जोरी ब्रह्मानंद कहे रे जोरे सरारहु चरण के पायक गणनायक गणेश सुखदायक ओ सुमिरो सुख सन्निधि सिद्धिपति ओ सुमिरो सुख सन्निधि सिद्धिपति गणनायक गणेश सुखदायक गणनायक गणेश सुखदायक गणनायक गणेश सुखदायक
Sound one, check one. वस्तु अमोलक दी मेरे सतगुरु, वस्तु अमोलक दी मेरे सतगुरु, कृपा कर अपनायो, पायो जे मैंने राम रतन धन पायो, पायो जे मैंने राम रतन धन पायो। राम रतन धन पायो, राम रतन धन पायो, पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो, पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो। वस्तु अमोलिक जी मेरे सतगुरु, वस्तु अमोलिक, वस्तु अमोलिक जी मेरे सतगुरु, कृपा कर अपनायो, पायो जी मैंने कृपा कर अपनायो, पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो, पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो। जन्म जन्म की पूंजी पाई, जन्म जन्म की, 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 जन्म जन्म की पूंजी पाई, जन्म जन्म की पूंजी पाई, जग में सभी को गायो, पायो जी मैंने जग में सभी को गायो, पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो। कैसे तेरा नाम किया है, कैसे तुम्हारी लगन लगाई, कैसे तेरा नाम किराए, कैसे तुम्हारी लगन लगाए, हृदय जगारो ज्ञान तुम्हारी शरण परे, उद्धार करो भगवान तुम्हारी शरण परे, शरण परे, शरण परे, शरण परे, शरण परे, भव पार करो भगवान तुम्हारी शरण परे, उद्धार करो भगवान तुम्हारी शरण परे, भव पार करो भगवान तुम्हारी शरण परे।
Namaste, Sitaram. On behalf of the members of the Narayan Madhuvan Mandir, I extend a warm and heartful Shubh Swagatam to each and every one of you as we gather for the 5th night of our 7 nights Ramayan Yagna. We are truly grateful for your continued presence and support throughout this sacred week. As we come together in prayer, devotion, and reflection on the divine teachings of the Ramayan, may Lord Ram bless each and every one of us with peace, strength, wisdom, and harmony.
This evening, we are honored to have Pandit Rushan Tiwari, our officiating Pandit, a proud son of the Narayan Madhuvan Mandir soil, whose dedication and service continue to inspire our community. With that, I warmly welcome Pandit Rushan Tiwari and respectfully invite him to lead us in this evening's proceedings. Jai Shri Ram Dhanyavad.
बोले श्री गणेश भगवान की उमापति महादेव की I think we can do a lot better than that. बोले श्री सत्य सनातन धर्म की जय शरणम प्रभु जय सीताराम. Shubh Swagatam to each and every one of you. Thank you all for coming this evening. I see so many who have been here over the past nights, and we have some new persons coming so far and near. I see the Addis family coming all the way from St. Augustine. Thank you very much for joining me here this evening. The Jamuna family coming a little further from El Sicuro. Thank you for joining us today. Members of the Brazil Mandir, I know you all just finished a Yagna. You made it your duty to be here. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Firstly, I see also members of the Chitrakut Mandir. Thank you very much for being here this evening, all the way from Plamita, all the way from Baratari. I see some of my godchildren. Firstly, I'd like to say special welcome to my dear brother, Pandit Sanjeev Maharaj, one of the most young and dynamic Pandits of Trinidad and Tobago. He is one of the tutors at the Pandit Parasram School of Hinduism, where he teaches Karmakand to the level 1 class. Thank you very much, Panditji, for being here this evening. A special welcome to the Mohammed family. That's 1/10 of the family you see sitting there. And Hart family as well. Thank you very much for sitting this evening and performing puja with us. You all enjoying the Yagna so far? Those of you who have been here for the past couple of nights, you all enjoy the Yagna so far? I know you all enjoy Madhuvan food and the music and the ambience. But what about the katha? You all enjoying the katha? My father, Pandit Narayan Tiwari, he is the resident Pandit of this Mandir. And we have a particular routine that we normally do every year when we have our annual yagnas. We choose a theme and we take verses of the Ramcharitmanas and go according to that theme. The theme for this year is meeting with the saints. What can we learn from the saintly people who are spoken about in the Ramayan? I also like to welcome, special welcome to the Madhurasha Kirtan Mandali, my Kirtan Mandali. Thank you very much. We have Mr. Ronaldo Balgobin on the harmonium, Mastana Bahar winner, and the young and talented Asha and Ashrika. They are not sisters, eh? Mother and daughter. Call her Asha Bosley. She has such a beautiful voice and she has taught her daughter so well. On the Dolak and Tabla, the renowned Yadesh Duki. Thank you very much for joining with us. On Dantal, we have Mr. Rudra Shankar. just finished his exam. Thank you for being here. And all the members, Shivanan and other drummers as well, thank you very much for joining me this evening. So, like I said, my father chose a theme, meeting with the saints. And he gave me the topic of speaking about Maharishi Valmiki. And Dad, you really make me step out of my comfort zone with this one. This was a challenge for me. You all know who Maharishi Valmiki is? You have heard the name, but do you really know who he is? So I'm going to give you a little prelude to the katha. This is very important to understand what the katha is about. So we all go to Yagnas, and what you say, you're telling people that you're going to what? You told your friends and your family, I'm going to what? A Ramayan. Didn't we not say that? You're going to the Ramayan. The correct pronunciation of the word is Ramayan. Ramayan. And the Ramayan, Ayan means journey. Ramayan means the journey of Sri Ram. And the Ramayan is the first official scripture. Listen to my words carefully. The first official scripture written by Maharishi Valmiki that extols the glories and greatness of Sri Ram. It is called Itihas. Itihas means, is loosely translated to mean history. But Iti Her Asa actually means that is how it happened. That is the real meaning of Itihas. And that version of the Ramayana, the Maharishi Valmiki's version, was composed in the year 300 BCE, before Christ existed. That's how long ago. That's 2,300 years ago. But what we normally hear when we go to our Yagna are the verses from the Ramcharitmanas, written by Goswami Tulsidas. You're familiar with that name. It's the Ramcharitmanas. And that was written by Goswami Tulsidas in the year 1574, which is only about 500 years ago. And there are some differences between the two epics. The Ramayana was written in Sanskrit, and the Manas was written in Awadhi. That was the language of the people where Goswami Tulsidas was situated at that point in time. The Ramayana is a narrative, a biography of the life and the duties of Sri Ram, because he lived in the time of Sri Ram. So the storyline is different, while in the Manas it is more devotional poetry, explicit devotion to Sri Ram as a divine being rather than a man. And like I said before, the Ramayana is the first official text. But Maharishi Valmiki is the second author of the Ramayana. You know who the first person is? If you give me the correct answer, you'll get an extra bag of prasad. Who is the first person who wrote the Ramayana? It was Sri Hanumanji. It was called the Hanumad Ramayana. And he wrote the story of Sri Ram with his nails on slabs of stone while he was residing in the Himalayan mountains. And when Maharishi Valmiki completed his Ramayana, he went to Mount Kailash to offer it at the feet of Lord Shiva. And there he encountered Hanumanji. And Hanumanji said, I have written my own one as well. And he humbly presented his own version of the Ramayana to Valmiki Ji. And Valmiki Ji, he was very amazed. Upon reading it, Valmiki, he was moved with tears, not from joy, but a sense of inadequacy. Sri Hanuman's rendition was so profound, it was so rich in devotion, it was so spiritually overwhelming that Maharishi Valmiki felt his own work seemed so insignificant in comparison. And Hanumanji, he did not wish that the divine, his vision, to overshadow Maharishi Valmiki's heartfelt composition. So what did he do with his? He threw it into the ocean. And that is why the Ramayana became the first official text to speak about the life of Sri Ram. So now you know the difference between the Ramayana and the Ramcharitmanas. So the question still stands, who is Maharishi Valmiki and what prompted him to write the great epic known as Ramayana? So I did a lot of research on this one. You all know the very popular story, you've heard it so many times, that Maharishi Valmiki, he was what? He was a highway robber. You ever heard that story? Maharishi Valmiki was, they said, a highway robber, not Churchill Roosevelt Highway. The main roads of the forest, they said that he used to rob persons and do other things with them. Because there was a great drought in the region, and they said that he adopted that lifestyle to support his family. The source of that information is Puranic Encyclopedia. I didn't pull that off the internet. I got an authoritative version, and that's what it says from the Puranic Encyclopedia. Before he was called Valmiki, he was known as Ratnakar. You probably heard of that name before, Ratnakar. But that name is not found in Puranic Encyclopedia, surprisingly. So one day, Ratnakar attempted to rob the Saptarishis. Sapta means 7, Rishis means the great saints. And the Saptarishis were the mind-born sons of Lord Brahma. Other sources said that he tried to rob Narad Muni. And in both cases, with the Saptarishis and Narad Muni, when he tried to rob him, he said, here's what. You're doing this for your family. I want you to go back home and ask your mother and your father and your wife and your children if they are going to share in your sins that you are committing. So obviously, they said no. And when he returns to them, he tells them their response. And he asks of them, how can I be absolved of my sins? How can I be saved from my sins? So one story says that Narad Muni asked him to chant the name of Ram, but he could only say the word Mara, which means to kill. So Narad Muni says, continue saying the word Mara. She said, okay, Mara, 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 and started in the Ram, 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 Ram. It eventually turns to Ram. In the Skand Puran, it says that sage Pulaha, this is the Saptarishi version of the story, gave him a different mantra called the Jata Gota mantra. And after many years, so they left Valmiki there, Ratnakar, saying this mantra, and after many years they returned to that spot and they saw an anthill. At anthill, you all know an anthill? And coming out of the anthill, you were saying, Ram, Ram, Ram. And they take the water from the Kamandalu and they sprinkle it on the anthill, and they discovered that it was Valmiki. They gave him that name, Valmiki. Valmiki means emerging from an anthill, being born from an anthill. Now, I started to question that story. This is where it gets interesting, and I'll tell you why. So in the year 2000, in Birmingham, England, there was a radio station called Radio XL. And in that radio station, there was a program called Akeswal, One Question. And they were talking about Maharishi Valmiki. And they were saying, someone called and said the exact same story that was said here, that Maharishi Valmiki is a robber, is a murderer, is a villain. And that, my friends, outraged the Punjabi community in Birmingham, UK, because you want to know why? We call him Maharishi Valmiki, but in the Punjabi community in the UK, they call him Bhagwan Valmiki. They revere Valmiki as God. They do not believe in that story that I just spoke. There are 7 temples in the UK dedicated to Maharishi Valmiki only. They consider him God. And they sued the radio station, and they seek intellectuals who would help them win the case. And one of the persons was Dr. Julia Leslie, a professor of the University of London, and she was very versed in Sanskrit texts. Very versed in Sanskrit texts. And the name of the text, which I am taking the information from, is Authority and Meaning in Indian Religions, Hinduism and the Case of Valmiki. This book was brought to me by Miss Ramayan. Thank you very much for that gift. Because it has a lot of information about the subject matter. They ask of her, can you prove that that story has some false information in it? So she got different Sanskrit texts that were available before and during the time of Maharishi Valmiki. The Taittiriya Pratishakya, the Mahabharata, the Yoga Vashishta, and the Valmiki Ramayan. And here's what she discovered. So she has done her research in that, a comprehensive research she has done. She says, the story of Maharishi Valmiki as a highway robber was not found in any text that occurred during or before the time of Maharishi Valmiki. And the story occurs long after the Ramayan was written. The conclusion is that the story could be folklore or could be referring to someone else. Secondly, she's saying the word Mara is a Hindi word, and the time of Maharishi Valmiki, the Hindi language did not exist. Hindi emerged in the 7th century, and Valmiki was a Sanskrit Vidwan. He was an expert in Sanskrit, and you don't become that overnight. You don't become that overnight. Maharishi Valmiki came from a tribal community which was looked down by some people. All evidence shows that he was a man of ascetic prowess, a poet and a saint, and a highly religious man of great learning and high status. And that made the Punjabi community win the court case. So taking from the Valmiki Ramayan, in the very first chapter, the very first verse, it says, Narad Muni visited Maharishi Valmiki and asked him, and Maharishi Valmiki asked him a question. He says, who in the world lives today who has all the following qualities? He is brave, he knows the right thing to do, he is grateful, he always speaks the truth. He remains firm and steadfast in his dharma. He's always concerned about the welfare of all beings. He can control his anger and his senses. And Narad Muni responds, he says, that's extremely hard to find in one person, but I know of just a person. His name is Sri Ram. And Narad Muni describes a brief description of Sri Ram. The intention of Narad Muni was to make Maharishi Valmiki write the Ramayan. That was his intention. So Maharishi Valmiki, Narad Muni left, and he went to the Tamasa River, contemplating on what Narad Muni told him. And on the banks of the river, and guess who was with him? Called Bharadwaj Muni, his disciple. My father spoke about Bharadwaj Muni on the very first day. And when he went to the river, he saw 2 crane birds romantically involved. And at the same time, a hunter came and killed the male bird. And the female bird started to hover over the body and started to wail. And a great emotion came over Maharishi Valmiki that he pronounced a curse on the hunter. And it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful that he recorded it. He recorded it as a shlok. That's why he's called Adi Kavi, the very first poet. So he returns to his hermitage, And at the same time, Lord Brahma comes to see him. And he is giving Lord Brahma something to eat. He says, have a seat, have something to eat. And Lord Brahma says, why you look so troubled? And he tells Lord Brahma about the bird and about the shlok that he created. And he said, you know what? I want you to write the Ramayan as the way Narad Muni told you. And he blessed him with drishti. Drishti means the divine sight, to see the past, the present, and the future of Sri Ram only. And after a few days, Sri Ram returned back to Ayodhya, and he was crowned king of Ayodhya. And just a couple of months after that, Sita Devi, who was pregnant, had to leave the kingdom and take shelter in the ashram of Valmiki Rishi. And that is when he started to compose the Ramayan. When the sons of Sri Ram were born, Lava and Kush, he teaches them the Ramayan and instructs them to sing it in front of Sri Ram while he was performing a Yagna. And this is when Sri Ram realizes that Sita Devi is living under the care of Maharishi Valmiki. And he calls Maharishi Valmiki into the courtroom, and this is where he gives the testimony to Sri Ram on the purity of Sita Devi. I would not read the Sanskrit, I would read the translation for you. He says, my Lord, O Sri Ram, that these twin boys are your sons. I am the 10th son of Pracheta. And I find that name sounds very familiar. When you all who do Bandara and you're giving of the Tarpan, we call that name, we call the names of the Saptarishis, Bhrigu, Narad Muni, and the last person, the 10th person is Pracheta Muni. So he came from a very good lineage. He came from a very good family. I am the 10th son of Pracheta. So far from speaking the untruth, it does not even spring up in my mind. I therefore tell you the truth that these twin sons are yours. I have performed austere penances for thousands of years. And if Sita Devi is found touched by any sin, I shall not reap the fruits of all my observances that I have extended over thousands of years. This is from the Maharishi Valmiki Ramayan itself. Maharishi Valmiki was a holy and honorable man who was fortunate and blessed to have lived to see God face to face. And that is the truth I discovered. One thing I have learned as being a pundit, being in this profession for 15 years, is that we have to be students of our Dharma and not followers. We have to be students. So let us all sit upright, clasp our hands together, close our eyes, and bow our heads. Whatever form of Bhagwan that you're accustomed praying to, that you are comfortable with, think of that form in your heart and in your mind. And let us all pray. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. Hame daya karo, varnanam artha sanganam, rasanam channa samapi, mangalanam chikaritaro, vande vane vinayaka, bhavani shankaro vande, Shraddha Vishwasa Rupina, Yabhyam Vinan Pashyanti, Siddha Swantastamii Swaram. Om Ramaya Ramabhadraya, Ramachandraya Vedase, Raghunathaya Nathaya, Sitaya Pate Namah. Jehi sumirat siddh ho, Gananayak kari bhad bhajana. हुई बाचा जासु कृपा सुदया जही सुमिरत सिद्ध हो नील सरोवर करहु सुमम उररा जही सुमिरत सिद्ध हो तुम इंदु समदे जाति स्थिर कर दे जही सुमिरत सिद्ध हो बंदो गुरु पर महामोहतम पुंज
जासु बचन रवि
जही सुमिरत सिद्ध हो गणनायक करिवर वदना गणनायक करिवर वदना गणनायक करिवर So you all know the katha. Sri Ram, Sita, Devi and Lakshman ji have left the camp of Guha, the boatman. And they are going through the forest for a place to stay. And they arrive at the beautiful hermitage of Maharishi Valmiki. It is located on the banks of the Tamasa River. And his disciples in his hermitage announced to Maharishi Valmiki that Sri Ram has come. And this is when he meets Maharishi Valmiki for the very first time. Let us see in this chaupai. Muni kahu Rama Dandavat Kina Asirvado Vipra Pardina Vipra Pardina Jai Ram Sri Rama
Jaya Jaya Rama Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama
Sumahatrikala Darasi Muninata Visvabhar Jimi Tumhare Hata Tumhare Hata
Jai Rama Shri Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Shri Rama Jaya Rama
Bole Sri Prabhu Ramachandra ki jai. So Sri Ram meets the great ascetic Maharishi Valmiki, and guess what he does? What most of you do when you see the great Brahmins. He goes flat on the ground and places his head on the feet of Maharishi Valmiki. Imagine it. Do you think that if he was that acclaimed highway robber, he would have given him such an honor? Do you think he would have done that? Also, I want you to take note of something. This is the very first time that Sri Ram is meeting Maharishi Valmiki, and Maharishi Valmiki does not ask him, "Who are you?" Sri Hanumanji, known for being one of the greatest devotees of Sri Ram, did not recognize Sri Ram when he first came in front of him, because you want to know why? The Maya of Sri Ram did not allow him to. With Maharishi Valmiki, Sri Ram's Maya had no effect on him. This is a mark of a highly qualified soul. Highly qualified soul. So Maharishi Valmiki, being the great person that he is, invited Sri Ram and Lakshmanji and Sita Devi into his home. They did not have any conversation as yet. He made them have a seat and gave them something to eat. Kandamula phala madadur mage. Kandamula phal. Kandamula phal. Kand. The bulbs of the forest, like tomatoes and baigan and stuff. Phal, the fruits. Kandamul, mul. What you all know mul is? Mul is the roots, the provisions. Sweet potato, dashin, kush kush. I asked my drummer if he knew what kush kush is. He go on and see, go on to the back. He said, "Of course I know what kush kush is." He said, "Kush kush hota hai." Let's make a little joke with you. He have done something to eat. And secondly, Sri Ram starts to speak to him. He says, "Tuma trikala darashi muninata." O Lord of the sages. Here how he's addressing Maharishi, the Lord of the sages. You directly perceive everything relating to the past, present, and future. This is the very same blessing that Lord Brahma is going to give him in the future. When Sri Ram is going to become crowned king of Ayodhya. When Lord Brahma met him in the future, he said, "Rasayam cha prakasham cha yat vritam tasya dhimataha." I'm taking from Valmiki Ramayan. He says, every incident pertaining to Sri Ram with Lakshmanji and Sita Devi, all their deeds, all their thoughts, everything that's unknown to everybody, are not even known to you. The past, present, and future will be revealed to you by my grace. Lord Brahma gave him that blessing. And here, Maharishi Valmiki is speaking to Sri Ram. Sri Ram tells him his entire story upon meeting Maharishi Valmiki. And that made me question something. Why would you tell a total stranger everything about yourself? You know when that happens? When you're going through difficulties in your life and you always want somebody to talk to. Does that happen to you sometimes? You meet a total stranger and your heart starts to pour out to that person. Even though Sri Ram is smiling, he is happy, he is with his wife and his brother, but something about it seems that he has a pain inside of him. And he feels very comfortable speaking to Maharishi Valmiki. And that's a very important quality to look for in the Brahmin. When you're choosing a guru, you have to feel very comfortable that you can speak to your guru. Isn't that so? Your guru alone can guide you. And he's pouring out his heart about all of the things that he has done. So what Maharishi Valmiki wrote is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Let us see in this Doha. बचन पुनिमा तुहत भाई भरत असुराव ओ रामा भाई भरत असुराव कहु दरस तुम्हारा प्रभु सब मम पुण्य प्रभाव सियापति रामचंद्र जी की जय शरणम श्री शंकर हरि ओम जय सिया राम. I want you to visualize this meeting. Sri Ram, Lakshmanji and Sita Devi are all dressed as hermits. No fancy clothes, no shoes on their feet, no sense of resentment for their family. No thoughts of rebellion or vengeance, just a pure conscious act of duty. They didn't do anything wrong, but it looks as though that they are being punished. They are wearing old clothes. They have no slippers on their feet, no jewelry, no form of makeup. Sita Devi is all bare. Even Kausalya Ma asked the same question. Kahehu jana banakehi aparadha. What did you do so wrong that your father had to punish you like that? You thought it was a punishment? At least that is in our human minds. That's how we interpret it as. This is just a representation of human suffering. Sri Ram is teaching us a great lesson here, that dharma, and when I say dharma, I don't mean your religion. Dharma means righteousness. Dharma, if followed correctly, often demands sacrifice. Dharma is not proven in comfort. When everything is going well, you're a kind person, you're a humble person, you're a loving person. It is proven in suffering. When things are going wrong in your life, are you still that righteous person? Are you still that kind person? Do you speak to your wife and your husband lovingly? But Sri Ram, even though he's going through all this pain in his life, he was practicing his dharma to the best of his ability. He had something inside we call titiksha. Titiksha means spiritual fortitude. The strength to endure what cannot be immediately changed while preserving his clarity, his dignity, and his inner peace. And Sri Ram is saying to Maharishi Valmiki, he says, my Lord, I am here because I am honoring the word of my father. That's one. I'm also satisfying the request of Keki Ma. And I'm giving my brother an opportunity to become king. And finally, is to have your grace, O Lord. All of this is the result of my good karma, all my pious and righteous deeds. He's saying this to Maharishi Valmiki. So the first reason that Sri Ram gives to Maharishi, he says, I'm in this world because of obedience to my father's word. You all know the story. He was going to become king of Ayodhya. And while they were preparing for the coronation, Raja Dashrath goes to visit Keki Ma, goes into her room, and she's in torn up clothes. And he asks, what's wrong? What's wrong, my dear? And she says, you promised me 2 gifts. I wanted 2 gifts, and you know what the 2 gifts are. And when he heard that she wanted Sri Ram going to the forest, he collapsed on the floor. Collapsed on the floor. And Keki Ma sent his minister. He said, go call Sri Ram. And when Sri Ram came into the room, Raja Dashrath was lying on the floor. He was not speaking. And Keki Ma spoke to him firstly. She said, your father has something he wants to tell you, but he is too afraid to tell you. And Sri Ram responds to her, he says, Nahi atha dharma charanam kimchit asti mahattaranam yata pitarisho shvirsha tasyava vachan kriya. Doesn't my father know there is not indeed anything of greater performance of duty than doing service to him or doing anything to satisfy his commands? Doesn't he know that? Bhakshayenam visham tikshanam majeyam apcha aranave niyukta gurana pitra niprena chahitena cha. If my father tells me I will jump in fire, I will jump in the fire. If my father, who is the king, seeks my welfare, and that's very important. If my father seeks my welfare and commands me, I will eat poison and I will drown myself in the ocean. You have to remember something. Raja Dashrath did not tell Sri Ram to go into the forest. Queen Keikei did. She said, your father promised me 2 wishes, and this is what I asked. For you to go in the forest and for your brother Bharat to become king. So Sri Ram is trying to honor the word of his father. Here are 2 questions I want you to think about. What do you think Sri Ram should have done, knowing that his father chose him to be king of Ayodhya? Wasn't that his word too? He sent Guru Vashish, he said, go and prepare Sri Ram for the coronation. And secondly, Keikei Ma is not his biological mother. And thirdly, Sri Ram was an adult of 24 years old. That's when the age he was when he left the Ayodhya. He just got married. What do you think that he should have done? And here's the second question. What would you do if you was in that situation? Your father has another wife, promised you something. And now he says, I can't give it to you. I promised her something. I have to give it to her son. What would you do? What would you do? Sri Ram is obeying the word of his father, but is it blind obedience? I'm asking the question, is it blind obedience? Should a child do everything his or her parents demand of them? Now, no parents have one answer and a child have one answer. Sri Ram is acting as an ideal human being here. He's acting as an ideal human being. He's called Maryada Purushottam, the ideal human being. People say that, oh, he is a man on earth. No. Sri Ram is God on earth. And his behavior and his attitude and his characteristics, people start to treat him like God. And he's trying to show us that if you behave like this, if you have the attitude like this, people are going to treat you like God too. Well, that's why we have to adopt his ways. Someone asked me the question, God in the form of a human being doesn't know he is God? Sri Ram has to become 100% human to destroy Ravan. That was the condition. And this is why Sri Ram had to live the ideal human life. And Maharishi Valmiki gave that life meaning through storytelling. So Sri Ram, being the ideal son, is setting the example for what we as human beings should strive to accomplish. But there's a reality in which we have to face. We are not perfect human beings. Children are going to make mistakes, and parents are also going to make mistakes too. Isn't that so? When Lord Ganesh was created by Durga Ma, Parvati Ma, he said, I want you to stand at the doorway and don't let anyone in. And a few moments after, Lord Shiva came into the house and he stopped Lord Shiva at the door. He did not recognize that was his father. And most importantly, he did not recognize that was God in front of him. And a battle ensued between Lord Ganesh and Shiv Shankar Bhagwan. And you all know the story. He ended up severing the head of the boy. And only when that had happened, he realized that he made a mistake. He said, if that is Parvati's son, that is my son too. We may not all be parents, but we were children once. Parents have the responsibility to act wisely, to act fairly, and to act lovingly. And having said that, do you think that Sri Ram became obedient overnight? The main reason why Sri Ram displays this quality of obedience is because of the relationship he and his brothers had with their father. They were inseparable. The birth of sons to Raja Dashrath brought immense happiness to him. And from that moment, he cherished them very deeply. Raja Dashrath performed the whole Yagna to get sons. His long wait for sons made him love them even stronger. And Raja Dashrath inculcated values into his children from young. Vidya Vinaya Nipuna Gunasila. He made them proficient in education, in politeness, in virtues and decorum. Raja Dashrath was a father who played an active role in the lives of his children. Making a child and raising a child is two different things. The first 10 years of a child's life, they imitate the people who are around them. Kids that age are very impressionable. You have all heard many stories, and that's why parents have to be very careful what they say and do in the presence of their child. They are going to adopt everything that you say and do. There are two kinds of parenting systems. One is authoritative, and the next one is authoritarian. Authoritative means that you lead by example, and that is what Rajarishya did. If they wanted a child to behave a certain way, he did it. However he wanted to act, he did, and that is why they adopted the ways of the father. The other way, authoritarian, means that you do as I say and you don't question it. You don't question it. So Raja Dashrath, he was a reasonable man. Sri Ram obeyed his command no matter how unreasonable his requests were, because his father never neglected him and his brothers. There was always mutual love and understanding, and Sri Ram is trying to protect the name and reputation of the father. That name that you carry, it took generations to build up that name, you know. It takes generations to build up that name that you carry. And that is why you have to protect it. And sometimes it takes one foolish family member to perform one foolish act. And what took a lifetime to build up comes crashing down in 1 second. That name that you carry, you have to protect it not until your parents leave the world, but when you leave the world. Let us see in this chopai. Sunu janani sui Suti barbagi jo pitumatu bachan anuragi Jai Ram
Sri Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Sri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Sri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama
Jaya Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama. Sri Ram is saying to Kekima, is this why my father is so distressed? Does he know that a child is truly blessed when he's devoted to his parents? A child who satisfies the wishes and the desires of his parents is a great blessing in this world. A great blessing in this world. Valmiki, Maharishi Valmiki said, added to that. Let us see what he says here. Sri Rama Sharanam Mama Sri Rama Sharanam Mama
Sri Rama Sharanam Mama
Sri Rama Sharanam Mama
Sri Rama Sharanam Mama
Sri Rama Sharanam Mama Oh Sri
Rama Sharanam Mama
Oh
Sri Rama Sharanam Mama
Dandakaryam Isha Aham Itah Gachami Satvara Vachirpitur Vakyam Sama Vastum Chaturdasha Sri Rama Sharanam Mama Sri Rama Sharanam Mama. He says, my father wants me to go to the forest. Immediately I shall go and live in the forest of Dandaka for 14 years without reflecting whether the words of my father are right or whether it was wrong. That is the kind of love that Sri Ram had for his father. When he heard that, you know what Raja Dashrath did? Raja doesn't say a word, you know. He hugged up Sri Ram and he started to pray to Lord Shiva. And telling Lord Shiva in his mind, he said, please, I want my son to disobey me. I want my son to disobey me. I don't want to lose my son. That is the love he had with his son. The second reason You know, recently, you all know I go to the Pandit Parashram School of Hinduism. And my Jyotish Acharya, my astrology professor, Pandit Sunesh Maharaj, one of the greatest astrologers in Trinidad and Tobago, he brought the chart of Sri Ram. He said, let us analyze this chart. And not knowing that Sri Ram is going through under Rahu Mahadasha. Rahu Mahadasha is 18 years. So when he started that forest journey, he had started that Rahu Mahadasha. So that he had to accept to go into the forest. See, Sri Ram understood something called karma bandhanam. Karma bandhanam means the bondage of karma. We all have karma bandhanam. We are all bonded by our karma. Buddhya yuktayaya partha karma bandhanam parasyasi. Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna. He says you have to seek the blessings of God to give you that intellect on how to navigate life in order to be freed of the bondage of karma. Raja Dashrath was a very great archer. Very great archer. And he could shoot a target without looking or seeing the object, by just hearing of it. And one day, before Sri Ram was born, he heard something drinking water. He's hunting. And he thought it was a deer. He did not see the object, And he let loose an arrow, and guess what he shot? He shot a young boy named Sravan. You all know that story. And Sravan was fetching water for his blind parents. And when he brought back the body, the parents cursed him. He says, you are going to lose your son, and you will die because of it. So it was destined for Sri Ram to go into the forest because of the curse of the father. That entire family was going through something called Pitri Dosh. If you all know the story, King Sagar, the generations before Raja Dashrath, 60,000 sons were burned into ashes. And one of their family members, Bhagirath, had to come generations after for them to get moksha and salvation. The other reason why Sri Ram is obeying the word of his father is because the father's lineage lives by a certain creed, a certain motto. You all know this? Raghukula Rita Sada Chaliyaye. What's the next line? Prana Jaye Pada Vachana Jaye. Their words are greater than their life. The words are greater than their lives. Sri Ram came from the Ishvakus, the solar dynasty, and they were people who kept to their word. And as a son, being the heir to the throne, he was supposed to abide by that law. And that is a very admirable quality. That is something for us to reflect on. What are you known for? If someone is going to speak about you, what is the first thing they are going to say about you? What are you known for? Are we recognized for keeping our promises, even if it means to our detriment? Do you all do that? You keep a promise to someone? You made a promise to someone? Promises you make to your parents, promises you make to your children, promises you make to your wife and your husband, promises you make to yourself, and even promises that you make in front of God. Do you keep those promises? Yes, Sri Ram obeyed his father's command because he had great admiration and love and respect for him. But because Raja Dashrath attachment to his son, he died. He had so much of attachment to his son, the loss, he couldn't cope with it. He died. He could not cope with the loss of his son. And that is a great lesson that we need to learn. Do not promise anyone anything when you're overly happy. Keki Ma helped him win a war, and he was overly happy. He said, you know what, I'm going to give you 2 wishes. She said, I don't want it right now. I don't want it right now. I will ask for it in the future. When he was overly happy. Raja Dashrath's inability to revoke his promises demonstrates the difficult choices that parents sometimes face when personal feelings clash with moral obligations. And the second lesson here is there are going to be differences in families. You're going to have differences with your parents and with your children. At the end of the day, you have to work things out. It is your children who have to perform the final rites. And lastly, everyone who comes into your life, you're going to have a last day with that person. The thing about it is, you're never going to know when that time is going to be. How does the bhajan go? Jeevan aani jaane chaya, sukh ke sab saathi, dukh mein na koi.
सुख के सब साथी दुख में न खोए
मेरे राम तेरा नाम एक साझा दूजा ना कोई।
सुख के सब साथी दुख में न खोए
जीवन आनी जाने छाया,
जीवन आने जाने छाया
ज्योति माया ज्योति काया, फिर कहे को सारी उमरिया। फिर कहे को सारी उमरिया, पाप की
कटरी रोए सुख के सब साथी दुख में न खोए
सुख के
सब साथी दुख में न खोए
बोले श्री प्रभु रामचंद्र की जय। The second reason he's telling Maharishi Valmiki is because to satisfy the desires of Queen Keki. Now think of something. She is not his biological mother, but what they followed back in that time and what we follow is a patriarchal society, where a child born to a single father but different mothers would be considered blood siblings. Therefore, Sri Ram and his siblings were brothers and not stepbrothers. Queen Keki was considered like a mother to Sri Ram, and he was very fond of her. Mo par karahi sneho bisheshi, mai kar priti parichadhiki. When the servant Mantra, when she found out that Sri Ram was going to become king, Mantra was the servant of Keki Ma. She tried to convince Keki Ma to request the boons, request now from Raja Dashrath. He says, why you want me to ask for Sri Ram to go into the forest? Queen Keki was telling her that Sri Ram loves her as dearly as his own mother. And she's telling Mantra, she says, on many occasions, I tested how sincere his love was to me. You believe that? A parent's testing the love of a child? So there is no doubt that the relationship with Sri Ram and Keki Ma was cordial. Sri Ram respected her as his own mother. He said to her, Anuktaha api atra bhavata bhavate vachine aham vane vatsyami vijena varshani iha chaturidasha. This is taking from Maharishi Valmiki's Ramayan. He says, even if my reverend father does not tell me, I shall go into the forest and avoid all the people now for 14 years as per your word. As per your word. Sri Ram considered her so much that he said to her that you saying it to me is just as good as my father saying it to me. That's how much respect he had for her. And I'm reading this and I was asking myself, why did he say that he wants to satisfy the wishes of Queen Keki? Why did he say that? To understand the full story, we have to go back. Raja Dashrath did not decide by himself for Sri Ram to become king. He called all the ministers of the neighboring cities, and they are the ones who decided that Sri Ram was fit to be king. So when he was making plans for the coronation, guess what happened? The gods got upset. Indra and all the gods, they got upset because they said, if Sri Ram becomes king, he will never go into the forest. He will never destroy Ravan. So guess what they did? They asked of Saraswati Ma. He says, twist the mind of Mantra, the servant of Keki. And it was Mantra who convinced Keki Ma to ask of the king of the two wishes. So Keki Ma was just an instrument in getting Sri Ram to go to the forest. But the Katha talks about something else too. Goswami Tulsidas says, Guru Kapata Priya Bachana Sunitiya Adhara Buddhi Rani. Adhara Buddhi. Queen Keki was a person whose mind was unstable and loved material things. So to get to Queen Keki, you know what Mantra told her? If Sri Ram becomes king, then Kausalya Ma, who is the mother of Sri Ram, going to be the head mother now. You're going to lose all your entitlement, you know. You're going to lose everything, you know. And that's why she got very scared. She was so attached to material things. She said that I don't want to lose those things. And that is what convinced her to ask Raja Dashrath for the two wishes. Queen Keki put her faith in an enemy, mistaking her for a friend. Queen Keki was undergoing the three types of obstacles that human beings will undergo in our life. We all experience these things. The first one is with yourself. She had a very unstable mind, that anything somebody tell her, she would believe. That's the first problem. The second problem is called Daivik, divine intervention. The gods came and asked Saraswati Mata to twist the mind of Mantra. And the third was Mantra. Mantra was pulling her down. She mistook an enemy to become her friend. Because of Queen Keki trusted Mantra, she believed every word that she said. Mantra took care of Queen Keki when she was a child, and now she's taking care of the children of Queen Keki, so they had a very long relationship. Do you believe what your friends tell you to do in your best interest? You all have friends. Do you believe what your friends tell you that is in your best interest? You are the result of the people you associate with. If you associate with 5 persons who go to Mandirs, who pray, you are going to be number 6. If you associate yourself with persons who are millionaires, you are going to be number 6. If you associate with persons who are deplorable in society, you are going to be number 6. Queen Keki trusted Mantra, and that is why she was so easily manipulated. One way the mind becomes weak is when it is corrupted by external influences. What you see, what you hear, the company you keep, your external environment shapes your internal state. Now here is why Sri Ram had to gratify Queen Keki's desires. Here's the reason why. You have to remember that Raja Dashrath did not tell Sri Ram, she did. She told Sri Ram what she wanted. In essence, she is telling God what she wanted. I want you to picture it in your mind. God is standing in front of her and he's asking her, what do you want? If God was standing in front of you, what would you ask for? Why you all have a doubtful facial expression? Why that doubt on your face? You don't believe that God could come in front of you? You all know who is Paramahansa Yogananda? He was a great devotee of Kali Ma, and she manifested himself in front of him. Don't ever doubt that God will never take form in front of you. Your prayer never goes unheard. God responds to you not always in the form you expect, but always in the form you need. The mind of Keki Ma, it was very weak. Very, very weak. How does the bhajan go? मन ही देवता मन ही ईश्वर मन से भरा न कोई. The mind. Your mind is the greatest power. An enlightened mind transforms the experiences of the world. Tora man darpan kehlaaye.
मन दर्पण कहलाए तोरा मन दर्पण कहलाए
भले बुरे सारे कर्मों को
भले बुरे सारे कर्मों को
देखे और दिखाए.
तोरा मन दर्पण कहलाए तोरा मन दर्पण कहलाए.
Your mind is your secret weapon. It is the greatest power. It should be protected from the negative forces of this life. This life, you have to protect what the mind thinks about. मन ही देवता मन ही ईश्वर मन से भरा न कोई.
मन ही देवता मन ही ईश्वर मन से बड़ा न कोई.
मन उजियारा जब जब फैले जग उजियारा हो.
इस उजले दर्पण मन प्राणी भूल न जमने पाए. तोरा
मन
दर्पण कहलाए तोरा मन दर्पण कहलाए.
बोलो राम 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 बोलो राम
राम राम बोलो राम 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 बोलो राम 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 बोलो राम 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 बोलो राम 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 बोलो राम 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 बोलो राम राम.
Prabhu Ramachandra ki jai. The third reason Sri Ram is telling Maharishi Valmiki, he's saying, give my brother the opportunity to become the king of Ayodhya. Of all the siblings, guess what? Bharat was the closest to Sri Ram. It was Ram firstly, then Bharat, then Lakshman and Shatrughan. He told Hanumanji, he says, Raghupati keenhi bahut badai. What's the next line? The president of Madhuvan said I could go till 10 o'clock, okay, so I'll wait. Raghupati keenhi bahut badai. What's the next line? Tuma mama priya bharatahi samabhai. You are dear to me just like my brother Bharat. Imagine that. When Guru Vashishtha told Sri Ram that he'll be king of Ayodhya, Sri Ram had feelings of regrets. He had feelings of regret. Janame ek sang sabhabhai, bhojan sayana keli larikai. My brothers and I played together, we ate together, we got married together, but unfortunately, only the eldest son is entitled to become king. He wanted everyone to know that his father was not showing him any favoritism. Throughout the Ramayan, you will never hear the brothers have any resentment towards Sri Ram for his appointment as king. Does that happen in reality? There are many times when a parent passes away and the lawyer reads the will indicating that the assets are to be divided in a particular way. And there is conflict among siblings. When the parent's alive, everybody happy. The moment the parent passes away, so this is a very important lesson to all of us. While you're alive, have that discussion with your children and see if they agree. Bharat had greater affection to Sri Ram than Sri Ram had for him. He says, "Tum to dehu sarala sikisoi, jo acharat muhi bhala hoi." When he performed his father's rites, Kausalyama, Kekima, Guru Vashishta says, "Well, now it's time for you to become king. Go on the throne. Take the responsibilities of your father." I notice he said to them, he says, "What you say to me is for my own good, I know this, but I don't want it. I don't want all the riches in the world. My heart gets no comfort knowing what has happened to my brother." You think that will happen in real life? Someone gets all the riches of the world. When Bharat decided to visit Sri Ram to convince him to return to Ayodhya as king, you know what he did? He brought the entire army, all the elephants, an entire entourage. And Lakshmanji, he was very confused. And asked, he said, "Why your brother walking with this entire army? Like he trying to get rid of you or what? Like he trying to secure his kingship?" And Sri Ram responded. He says, "Sunahu Lakshman, bhala bharata sarisa, bitti prapancha, maha suna nadisha." He says, what you're saying is right, When people get all this power in the world, it goes to their head. But you see, my brother, in the whole of God's creation, I have never seen or heard of anyone as good as my brother Bharat. Imagine that. Can you say that about your brother? Can you speak so highly about your brother? You know my sister? She sits right here in front. You could ask her. She says 1981 was the best year of her life. That was the year I was born. The relationship people have with their brother. So to Sri Ram, Bharat becoming king is the best thing to happen to him at that moment. He would not have filled his karmic duty if Sri Ram become king. So what looks like a curse is actually a blessing in disguise. And lastly, Sri Ram is saying in this chaupai, "Dekhi payamuni muni raya tumhare, bhaya sukrita sab sufala hamare, sufala samare."
Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Jai Rama. Shri Ram, Jai Rama, Jai Jai Rama. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama. Jai Jai Rama.
Jaya Jaya Rama.
Jai Jai Rama.
Bolo Sri Prabhu Ramachandra ki jai. Sri Ram is saying to Maharishi Valmiki, he says, "Being in your company is the result of my good karmas." Result of my good karmas, O Maharishi? Others may see these events as unfortunate, but for me, they have brought the greatest blessings, O Maharishi, your presence. Receiving your darshan is the true reward of all the good I have done, all my good karmas. Sri Ram is giving us a good example of devotion, how devotion can transform adversity into gratitude. We always think that the bad things are happening for us, against us. It's actually happening for us. It is pushing us in a different direction. And this is what Sri Ram is trying to say here. He says, being in your company, being in the company of saints is what we call satsang. In our dharma, satsang is one of the greatest catalysts that influence spiritual progress. Being in the company of good people purifies your mind. Purifies your mind. Dharma teaches us that the external environment shapes our internal states. Our Brahmins who live in constant awareness of the divine, they're always doing puja, they're always doing havan. Being in their presence can help reduce negative tendencies. Inside of us, there are negative tendencies, anger, greed, selfishness. Just as how iron becomes magnetized by constant contact with a magnet, when you take a nail and you hold it against a magnet, the mind becomes spiritualized by constant contact with saintly people. There is a famous saying, we all know of the saying, those who walk with wise men shall become wise. Isn't that so? The Brahmins, the Pandits, your guru, are the visible doorway through which divine wisdom enters the world. And this is why we revere them to the highest level. Being in the company of saints removes ignorance and accelerates our spiritual development in our lives. Sometimes we think to ourselves, we have so much of ignorance and so much of ego. We have so much ignorance of our true nature. We think that we have money, we have health, we have a house, we have a car, we have a good job, and we think that we don't need anything else. And those things in that mindset is what causes our suffering. The guidance from the Brahmins, from the Pandits, and from the holy people can shorten this bridge that you're trying to build between yourself and between God. You are here today to build a relationship with God or to maintain that relationship with God. And Lord Krishna gives us this final answer. Let us see. Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Sri Krishna
Sharanam Mama,
Sri Krishna Sharanam
Mama,
Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, oh, Sri
Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya, Upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshinah, Upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshinah. Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Bol Sri Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai. So Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. He is saying to get a guru in your life. The truth, what is the truth? About life, about God, and about yourself. Inquire from this person and render service unto him. Those realized souls can impart knowledge because they have already seen the truth about life and about God. That is why it's very important to have a guru in your life. If you want to change your life, you have to be associated with good saintly people. Iron sharpens iron. Iron sharpens iron. Being in the company of saints can transform a sinner into a saint. And maybe that's why the story of Valmiki came from. Maybe they was trying to tell little children that this guy was a highway robber and he became a saint by associating himself with God, by associating himself with good people. Sri Ram says it was because of his good karma that he was able to meet Maharishi Valmiki. It is my good karma to be in the company of all you good people here tonight. Through the interactions of our Brahmins, our Pandits, our Gurus, can we become the best version of ourselves? We have to become the best version of ourselves. And when that day reaches, one day you're going to meet your Maker, you know. One day you're going to meet your Maker. You can come face to face with your Maker. and he's going to hug you, and he's going to say, my child, thank you. Thank you for living according to my will. Bole Sri Prabhu Ramachandra ki jai. Thank you very much for sitting so quietly and listening so attentively. So Sri Ram is still having a conversation with Maharishi Valmiki, and he asks Maharishi Valmiki the most important question in the Ramayana. You want to know what that is? You have to come tomorrow. Come tomorrow. That is going to be a very interesting katha, to hear what he asked of Maharishi Valmiki. Thank you very much. So, I'd like to call on Vinasha.
Namaste, Sitaram, everyone. As we bring an end to the 5th night of our 7th-night Ramayan Yagna, we offer our sincere gratitude to Bhagwan for blessing us with another beautiful evening of worship and satsang. We extend our heartfelt thanks to my Guruji, officiating Pandit Roshan Tiwari, for his inspiring discourse and for guiding us through tonight's reading. May Bhagwan continue to bless him with strength, wisdom, and good health as he serves our community. A special thank you goes out to all of our devotees, sponsors, well-wishers, volunteers, musicians, and everyone who contributed their time, effort, and generosity to make this evening a success. Your continued support and devotion are truly appreciated. We'd like to extend our gratitude and appreciation to Media Impressions by the young talented Richie Bisai for the live stream tonight, ensuring our online viewers can get the full experience. We also thank each and every one of you for your presence. Your participation adds to the spiritual strength and unity of our Mandir family. We look forward to welcoming you all again tomorrow evening together with Pandit Roshan Tiwari to continue our sacred Ramayan Yagna. May the blessings of Lord Sri Ram be with you and your families always. Jai Sri Ram, thank you and have a safe journey home. I'd now like to pass over to Pandit Sanjeev Maharaj to render a few words.
The officiating Vyas Pandit Roshan Tiwari ji, to the spiritual head of this Mandir, Pandit Narayan Tiwari, to the devotees partaking in puja, all members of the Mandir, to the Kirtan group, to all members of various visiting Mandirs, all devotees sitting in the audience, as well as those viewing your live stream. Jai Sitaram. Once more, it's a blessing and privilege for me to be able to join with you on this auspicious occasion, on this auspicious night, to join with you in listening to the Katha of Bhagwan and offering our love and devotion. And of course, I have noted very attentively the Katha that Panditji has presented to us, which is one of the kathas that I consider that I like very much. The meeting of Bhagwan Sri Ram with Valmiki ji, and it's the last point that weighs the most heavy with me. That what did Sri Ram say to Valmiki ji? He says it is the blessing. It is by the blessings or the results. This is the results or the consequences of my good karmas that have brought me in this exact circumstance in which I am. And of course, the backdrop of the theme of your yagya, the company of the saints. Sri Ram himself has reminded us when he was speaking To Shabari Mata, he says, Pratama Bhagati Santana Karasanga Du Sarirati Mama Katha Prasanga, where he has presented to her the 9 forms of devotion, or the 9 ways that one can connect or find that link with Bhagwan, or one can offer devotion or offer oneself to Bhagwan. And the very first 2 are company of the saints, just the company of the saints. And what we note there is, who the saintly persons are, that just their company alone brings us great benefit. Not even that they have spoken to us yet, just being in their company. They are the persons who have, who have given up the attachments to this material world, who have contemplated on the spiritual, who have made that connection to the divinity. And so just being in their presence, we find that link with Bhagwan. And after that, he says, Du Sarirati Mama Katha Prasanga. Then we listen to their katha, we listen to their advice, we listen to their words. And so we make that stronger connection, and they guide us on this pathway of life, that we are able to walk in accordance with the teachings of our dharma, and we are able to make that link with Bhagwan. And what does Panditji remind us of? He says, Bhagwan Sri Ram has said to Valmiki, it is the results of my good karmas that have brought me here. And we must contemplate that, take a little deep thought. What are the circumstances that has brought Sri Ram into the presence of Valmiki? Is all bad circumstances, just thinking like a normal human being. Being banished from the kingdom, as Panditji mentioned, just about to be crowned as the king of Ayodhya. All of that preparation, and that is just on the crux of that event taking place. Everything fell apart. So his entire life, if you think about it, it come like your whole life fall apart, and you lost everything, and you're going to live in the forest with 0 resources, because they are just like beggars, with not much clothing, etc. So all of the resources, Sri Ram is a king, somebody who has servants, people waiting, doing everything for him, etc. He's a prince in the court of Ayodhya. And he has lost all of that, and yet still he has that resilience that we should take note of. That he's saying to Valmiki, everything that happened is the results of my good karmas. As Panditji mentioned, we never know where the circumstances would take us. And sometimes out of the negative circumstances, something positive arrives, something that takes us in another direction, in a better direction. But it depends a lot on the frame of mind. And what frame of mind? It is by giving ourselves, finding that connection with the saintly persons, taking their guidance, which gives us one important thing. It gives us that connection with Bhagwan, that we are able to attain that guidance. And once we have that blessing, that protection, and that guidance of Bhagwan, we have no negative circumstances. We gain the resilience and the ability to traverse this pathway of life no matter what comes our way. So we take note of the katha and those aspects for tonight, and well, at least that's the important part that I have taken, or the part that I have taken note of. That's not the only important part, of course. So with that in mind, I want to just offer a little prayer. I invite everyone to clasp hands and join with me as we meditate on Bhagwan and seek his blessings as you continue your yagya for tonight as well as for the rest of your yagya. May the blessings and guidance of Bhagwan Sri Ram be with everyone. Hari Om. Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitaya Pataye Namaha. Om Rameti Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane. Om Apadam Apaharataram Dataram Sarvasampadam Lokabhiramam Shri Ramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. एक बार बोलो श्री रामचंद्र की जय। जय सीताराम।
Thank you very much, my dear brother. May we all stand for final offering into the Havan. Hari Om. Purnamida Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnaraya Purnamevavashishvate Sarvamay Purnagam Swaha. Sarvatirtha Samayuktam Sugandhim Nirmilam Jalam Achmetam Adattam Grahanam Parameshwaraha. Remain standing for our final arati. Sajam chavarati samyuktam ranjina yogitam maya deepam grahana devesha trailokyam timirapaham. Om Lakshmi karotu kalyanam arogyam sukha samparam imam shatru vinashaya deepa jyotir namastute.
वाल्मीकि जय जय भगवन वाल्मीकि जय जय सतगुरु वाल्मीकि जय जय सगल सृष्टि के मालिक सगल सृष्टि के पालक मुक्ति के उदाता गुरु वाल्मीकि जय जय स्वामी वाल्मीकि जय जय सतगुरु वाल्मीकि जय जय वाल्मीकि जय जय भगवन वाल्मीकि जय जय सतगुरु वाल्मीकि जय जय
us all clasp our hands together. Close our eyes and bow our heads. Say a prayer for yourself. Say a prayer for your loved ones, for your parents, for your children, for your guru, and say a prayer for your country. Hari Om. Om Mantreenam Kriyahinam Bhaktihinam Janardanam Yat Pujitam Maya Devam Paripurnam Tadastu Me. All voices. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Cha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Om Shantihi 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 Harihi Om. बोले श्री गजानन स्वामी की, उमापति महादेव की, गुरु रामानंद स्वामी की, सत्य सनातन धर्म की जय। शरणम प्रभु जय जय सीताराम। धन्यवाद। प्लीज टेक योर सीट्स। थैंक यू। Before you leave, please take your arti, your panchamrit, your prasad, and meals have been prepared for each and every one of you. Please partake before you leave the Mandir, before you go to your respective homes. I'm inviting all of you again for tomorrow. Please come, bring your friends and family. Hope to see you all. Thank you. Jai Shri Ram.
Song 111. श्री राम चरण शरण में मीठे सकल अधिकार, नाम तुम्हारा जो जपे हो भव सागर पार। राम चरण दिन राती, अरे भजो मन राम चरण दिन राती। राम चरण दिन राती दिन राती, राम चरण दिन राती, भजो मन राम चरण दिन राती। राम चरण के जो कोई लागे, सदा सदा अधम जाति। राम चरण के जो कोई लागे, सदा अधम जाति। जिन चरणन से सुर सरी निकसी, शंकर सकल अरे भजो मन राम चरण दिन राति रे भजो मन राम चरण दिन राति राम चरण दिन राति भजो मन राम चरण दिन राति राम चरण दिन राति अब राम चरण दिन राति अरे भजो मन राम चरण दिन राति भजो मन ध्रुव प्रहलाद विभीषण पांडव हनुमाने बहुभाती आए 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 ध्रुव प्रहलाद विभीषण पांडव हनुमाने बहुभाती गिरिजा चौ संपत्ति तर गए शिवरी पुंजाती भजो मन राम चरण दिन राति भजो मन राम चरण दिन राति राम चरण दिन राति अरे भजो मन संपद अंबर और सुग्रीव और गौतम की नारी अरे संपद अंबर और सुग्रीव और गौतम की नारी कोटि अधम गंगा मोती कोटि अधम यब कोटि अधम गंगा मोती दास बहुत भम भाती अरे भजो मन राम चरण दिन राति अरे भजो मन राम चरण दिन राति राम चरण दिन राति भजो मन राम चरण दिन राति